Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Friday morning. It's now the 28th day of March 2025, and this is the morning briefing coming to you from the home weather office where it's cloudy, but it is dry, but some areas are seeing some rain. We're going to get to the rain that some areas are going to see today. We're going to get to the weekend outlook and then look at next week as well. And next week, this morning, had a little surprise. So I'll get to all of that in a minute. First, a little bit of housekeeping. One, if you hear a low rumble, jackhammer going next door. I think they're putting in a pool. I'm still waiting on more people to come to be working on my project. So I feel like I should be wearing a hard hat here in the home weather office. So if you hear some rumbling going on, yeah, there's a jackhammer going on next door. The other thing is, that with the potential for active weather for the middle part of next week, the potential for a good-sized storm, I will do an update on Sunday, and I'll probably post it a little bit later than this. Right now, I'm recording this at 8 o'clock. I'll wait until the 12Z data comes in, so probably mid to late morning on Sunday, I'll do an update on what we can expect then. And then, if next week does pan out to be an active period around Wednesday, I'm also thinking about maybe doing another live in the late afternoon or early evening, like I did a couple of weeks ago, and we can do more of a Q&A and that sort of thing. So a lot to keep track of for next week. But in the meantime, let's focus on what's happening on this Friday morning. Let's start with the radar, because this radar looks a lot like what we've been seeing over the last 24 hours. Yeah, there are a couple of sprinkles in the valley, but the west slope continues to squeeze out. It's light rain, but it keeps raining. That's the thing. This is what I talked about being soupy. And, on the valley floor, we certainly didn't see the soup. Even around the home weather office, I'm around 700 feet. I did not get the soup, but, I heard from Grass Valley in the Nevada City area. Camino was soupy, Pollock Pines soupy, and that's probably going to continue throughout much of the day. But the valley is going to see a better chance of some rain later on today and into this afternoon. But it really has been a case of the haves and the have-nots with this sort of a pattern. And you can see that here on the California Nevada River Forecast Center observed precipitation map. So if you look, I'm just going to start wide here. So in Stockton, actually, I think it might be Lathrop, 1/100th of an inch of rain. Nothing in Modesto. Looks like towards Sonora, 1/100th. In the Sacramento area, just a few 100ths of an inch of rain, 0.04 in Sacramento. But then you get into the foothills, Placerville, well, the airport's up to around 1/4 of an inch. But you go farther up the hill, and there are areas here over 1/2 inch. When you see these little blue bubbles, that's over 1/2 inch. So the green bubble there around Grass Valley, that's 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch farther up the hill. So yeah, many of you may be surprised that parts of the Sierra have been seeing some really good steady precip, but down on the valley floor, it's been hardly anything. And for, let's say, for a meteorologist in the valley that is trying to convey a message to everybody about whether or not it's going to rain today, or was going to rain yesterday, man, that's a tough message to get out when some areas won't see anything and other areas are going to see a steady rain. That is certainly a forecaster's dilemma about trying to message it. So if you're watching in Modesto yesterday and you heard it was going to rain, well, you didn't get anything and you're saying they're never right. So yeah, that's just a tough message for a forecaster to get out, especially if they're on TV and they only have 2.5 minutes to get that out. All right. Let's take a look at what's happening here. We do still have a lot of cloud cover to our south and east, and it's kind of murky underneath here. And then underneath, I should say behind this, we have this nice little AR out in here, nice little stream of moisture, but this isn't really coming our way. This isn't the one we're expecting for next week. This is the one that's just going to go by to our south. And we may see a little bit of precipitation from that on Sunday and into early Monday. Let's focus short term to start with, and that's with the HRRR. And that shows the same thing we're seeing right now, this precip on the west slope, really not much in the valley. And as we head through the middle part of the day, more showers pop up. These may be some convective cells, but this isn't a big thunderstorm kind of a setup. This is just one of those days that we get a little bit of afternoon sun in the valley or midday sun in the valley. We could see showers pop up. But once again, as is often the case, it's going to be the east side of the valley that sees most of that. So for those of you in Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, you'll see some rain, maybe a better chance there than you'll have in, let's say, Vacaville. And then that would continue all the way down through El Dorado Hills, Elk Grove, Lodi, Stockton would see a little bit of rain, but certainly on the west slope from Grass Valley through Placerville and Jackson will see some rain. Also, a little bit colder today. This is around 5 o'clock, so we'll likely see a couple of inches of snow, but not a ton. This is around 9 o'clock this evening. The valley dries out. The Sierra is still seeing a little bit of snow. We could get into some chain controls later on today. And then Saturday, this is Saturday morning around 8 o'clock. We are dry. It's going to be a cool morning, but it will be a dry day. Saturday is going to be a terrific day to be outside. This is around 8 in the evening on Saturday, so we've gone through the entire day dry but cool. And then you can see the next area of rain starting to nudge in. And this model starts the rain early. That's 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Nice little low out here, a little breezy. Yeah, Sunday looks like it'll be breezy and occasionally wet with some snow. But again, that model is a little bit faster than the others. We can go a little bit farther out in time with the NAM. And so that shows the same thing, everything drying out. So Saturday turns out to be a dry day. Sunday, this model a little bit slower. Shows more widespread rain around 8 o'clock in the morning. Snow around 6,000, 6,500, something like that. Not a lot of rain for the valley, but enough that Saturday is definitely your day if you want to get in a bike ride or play golf or whatever it may be, maybe some pickleball. But for whatever you're going to do and you're just trying to pick one day, Saturday's your day. Because Sunday, well, we're not going to see a lot of rain. We will see some. And then we get into the critical day on Monday. I say critical because, as I mentioned yesterday, it is the A's home opener. Big day for Sacramento and West Sacramento to have the MLB games, real MLB games being played in West Sacramento. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is 5 o'clock in the evening. The models have been very consistent here in bringing the back edge of rain in. Some nice snow in the Sierra. We may see 6 to 10 inches of snow in the Sierra, if not more, during the day Monday. It's going to be chilly, but right now it looks as though what we may see on Monday, if it all works out, is getting rain during the day and the afternoon in places like, and again, I'm point forecasting here for, let's say, Sacramento, West Sacramento, for for the A's game. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it may be raining. But by the time we get into the evening, the rain may be ending. And right now, it looks as though we could see everything clear out. And again, for the valley, we're not looking at a lot of rain. We're not looking at thunderstorms. And for those of you that may remember way, way back when at that time it was called Raley Field, now Sutter Health Park, on the first day it opened, it was in May of 2000 or 2001? I forget. Either way, it was May that they didn't have their home opener until, and that day was featured thunderstorms. It was a real big day, and we had thunderstorms, and Channel 3's helicopter actually helped to dry out the field. I don't think it's going to be that wet. The Live Copter 3 is going to have to dry out the field. But again, for the A's game right now, I think we'll get that in. Okay, now let's turn to the surprise of the morning. What we're looking at here is the 6Z, precipitable water, and that's that stream that I showed you that will be generally steered to our south. And then here comes the stream on Wednesday, but look at how this is arcing to the south. That is definitely a fly in the ointment, a monkey in the wrench, as it were. And I think John McClane said that, a monkey in the wrench. So as you can see, that is not heading our way. This is the Wednesday, Thursday time frame. This model does bring in better precipitable water on Friday, but this thing we've been looking at starting Tuesday night and Wednesday, this model run says not so fast, which is why yesterday in the headline, I put potential for next week, and we're still going to call it potential and not giving up on it just because we have this one model run. But let me show you the way that model run looks, then I'll show you how different it is from the earlier runs. So this shows the same thing. This is the GFS. This is the rain coming our way on Sunday. This model is really, really light on Sunday. And Monday shows the same thing, clearing out as we head through the evening. This is Tuesday. All right, here's the Wednesday. This is Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. At this point, earlier runs had been all over the rain. Instead, that's dry. 10 o'clock in the morning, it's still dry. Yeah, it shows some snow, but that's a swing and a miss. That's completely different. So this is all the way through Thursday afternoon. All right, I'm going to switch this over to precip, total precip accumulation. And now keep in mind that this is total all the way through next Thursday. So this would include any rain showers we see today, Sunday, Monday, as well as whatever would be here Wednesday, Thursday. Shows a 1/4 of an inch for Sacramento. Okay, now there is this handy tool up here I've talked about before. You can compare products. So let's look at previous runs. And so once again, I've stopped time here at 21Z on Thursday. So this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. I still haven't gotten used to the time change. So as of 2 p.m. next Thursday, this model says Sacramento has a 1/4 of an inch. Now what I'm going to do is show you the way the last few model runs have shown the total precip accumulation at the same time frame to show you just how different this model run is. Okay, so last night's 0Z run, 160, and notice a lot of rain on the west slope, snow as well. Previous run from that, 144, that's the 18Z run. Yesterday morning's 12Z run, 2.5 inches of rain in Sacramento, 6 to 8 inches of water on the west slope. Previous run to that looks similar. Again, similar. All of these model runs look alike, which is why yesterday we had high confidence, and I'm going to go forward here. So as you can see, these model runs, they all look a little bit different, but they all were singing basically the same tune, maybe backing off the rain a little bit until this latest run backed off the rain completely. So what do you do as a forecaster? Well, for me, I'm not ready to give up on this rain, the potential for heavy rain, wind, snow based on next Wednesday, Thursday. What you like to see is consistency in the model runs, and quite often, let's say I can look at 4 runs of the GFS, 24 hours worth of runs for the GFS. What I would often do, especially when you're 5 or 6 days out, is you kind of treat it like the Olympics. You throw out the high, you throw out the low, and you look at the middle, especially when you're this far out. So this most recent run, the 06Z run, is certainly the low one. It's the oddball right now. Now, if the 12 and the 18 and tonight's 0 all come in the same way, well, then we got to start, maybe backing off that chance of rain for next week for the potential for a pretty good storm. So maybe the 6Z is onto something, or maybe it's just the oddball. And somebody asked yesterday in the comment section, well, how can the models, be this far off, or how can they disagree so much? Well, it all has to do with initialization and what the models are seeing in terms of the initial parameters and what may be happening over the next 3 or 4 days, which is why forecasting is so difficult, of course, especially long range forecasting. And yeah, it's so many different things can happen. There's so many different interactions that can happen basically around the globe that can affect which way an area of precipitable water may go and how the dynamics may line up. So we'll see what happens for next week. In the meantime, today, kind of like yesterday, there'll be occasional rain in the valley. The best chance of that will be this afternoon. Everything tapers off this evening. Saturday's a nice day. Look for some light rain on Sunday and a little bit of snow in the Sierra. And Monday right now, we're hoping that the game can get in. But Monday, it does look as though we could see better snow in the Sierra. Don't be fooled by light rain in the valley. We could see some pretty good snow in the mountains, and certainly enough to impact travel. And then, boy, we'll just keep an eye out for next week to see what might happen then. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, I will have an update on Sunday, probably mid to late morning after the 12Z data comes in, and give you a better idea of what the models have been saying over the previous couple of days here. So we'll see what happens for next week. In the meantime, it is Friday. I can see a little bit of blue sky out there. So go ahead and make it a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll talk with you later.